You know what we're going to talk about today? We're going to talk about why boring businesses make you billions. You know, everybody thinks when they start a business, it has to be flashy, it has to be nice. They have to get the best office. They have to hire a receptionist immediately. They got to raise a gazillion dollars. Some businesses do, but not all. If you think you need to do that in order for you to be a millionaire or possibly a billionaire, you're mistaken. I'm going to bring you a few examples. Theranos, you guys remember Elizabeth Holmes, Turtleneck Holmes, who tried to be like Steve Jobs? Well, she didn't really try to be Steve Jobs. She was a fraud version of Steve Jobs, you know, and she is in prison now. You know why? Because she was thinking that if she has a flashy company, that from a single drop of blood, she can give you 200 plus different biometrics of your body, and she can tell you who you are, what kind of issues you have, and what kind of sicknesses you have. You know, she thinks she was going to be able to be the next Steve Jobs, but she's not. She's in prison right now. You know why? Because she was a fraud. She thought that she can make it. Another example I'm going to give you. This is one of my favorite. Do you guys remember that guy who stole $700 million before filing an IPO with the New York Stock Exchange? You know what he did? He was thinking that his vision, his dream, which is okay. We all have visions and we have our dreams, but you have to be real. It has to be a real vision. It has to be a real dream that can come into light, that can come into reality. He was thinking he's going to get these massive, massive high-rise buildings, and he's going to turn them into office buildings, but not just regular office buildings. Don't forget about that. He was going to make that regular office building and make it into 20, 30, 40 offices. He's going to make this space where everybody is going to work and collaborate together. They were going to meet and mingle and, you know, network. Well, that company was almost into bankruptcy until they fired him, until he was gone. He was into drugs. He was into prostitution. He was into many, many other things. And he is no longer the CEO or the chairman or the owner of that big, big company, WeWork. You know how much money they raised? They raised $12 billion. Do you know how much the valuation was? $47 billion. Again, I want you to remember, that's with the B, billion dollars, not millions. Millions is also a lot of money, but billions, that's out of this world. And today, that company is barely surviving. I'm going to give you another example. Quibi, you know that company? No, you don't. You know why? Because it doesn't exist. Quibi was going to be the competition to YouTube. It was going to be another video streaming company. Do you know how much money they raised? They raised $1.75 billion. Do you know who they appointed as the CEO? Meg Whitman. Do you remember Meg Whitman? She ran for governor in California in the 2000s. And also, she was the CEO of eBay and CEO of HP, Hewlett Packard. They brought somebody massive. They brought a giant who was going to lead this company. But you know what they didn't have? They didn't have the right tools. They didn't have the vision. They didn't understand that YouTube was also as brand new. YouTube already had the right foundation. People were on that platform. Millions and millions of people were on that platform. Why do you think something so new was going to be able to perform as good as YouTube? That was the problem. You know what Quibi did? It was built for people to watch shows in 10-minute quick bites on their phones. But in 2020, during the pandemic, people weren't commuting. They had no need for mobile-first content. Also, the app didn't allow screenshots or sharing, which killed that business. You know, when you build a business, remember what I always say when you start a brand new business, there's no such a thing that you can say no. Everything has to be a yes. Of course, for the right cost, but you have to say yes. You don't have the luxury of saying no in the beginning. You have to do everything possible out there in order for you to succeed. You never say no to a customer. And this brand new company, Quibi, that you don't know that existed, okay? You know how long it took them to last? 6 months. They were in business for 6 months. $1.75 billion in 6 months. Jesus Christ, I don't know what to say to these people. Now I'm going to tell you about thriving, boring businesses. You know, businesses that are not trending on Twitter. But you know what they're trending on? They're trending on traditional ways of living, traditional way of doing business. They offer predictable demand, strong margins, and simple operations. You know what's going to be one of them? HVAC systems. Can you tell me somebody who doesn't need a air conditioning or a heating system in their house? Can you think of one? I don't think so, because the entire country does. I'm going to give you one prime example. State of California, 40 million people live here. One of the hottest by temperature state in the country. Every single household here, maybe except in San Francisco where they don't have air conditioning systems, but they have heating systems. You know, That is a big, big business. You know what's the average profit margin on an HVAC system? It's about 20 to 25%. I'm bringing you an example. I have an apartment building, 24 units. I had to renovate the entire HVAC system. I had to put in 24 individual AC systems. Each system was about $8,000. Do you want to do the math on that? 8 times 24, that's almost $200,000. $200,000, that's from one client. Can you imagine how many people like me exist out there? How many people own apartment buildings, single family homes, duplexes, triplexes, businesses, private businesses, shopping centers, and so on and so forth? It's massive. I mean, the sky is the limit. How much money you can make in the HVAC business. Do you know how much it costs you to start an HVAC business? Not billions of dollars. You don't need to raise billions of dollars from venture capitalist groups. You need to raise maybe 50 grand. And you don't even have to raise that. You know why? Because you have that money probably most likely in your pocket. That's called a credit card. So instead of going shopping at some luxury store or spending shitload of money on fancy restaurants, put that money in your business. Open up that corporation, go buy a car, go buy your equipment, get some marketing material, and go door to door to their businesses and knock. And best of all, if you do a great job, you're going to have the best marketing, which is word of mouth. People are going to refer you day and night. Let me tell you another interesting, boring business that can possibly make you into a millionaire and maybe into a billionaire. Pest control. You ever heard of that? Of course you did, because your house is full of different type of pests, especially during the summer. You know what happens to that business? It booms, because during the summer, a lot of different type of insects come, those rats, black widow spiders, which are very dangerous, by the way. What do? You call the pest control company to come and spray the shit out of your house so your kids can play safely at your backyard. You have snakes, you have different type of animals coming and going. And this business is one of those business that is a necessity for every single household. And it's not only for residential, it is also for commercial use as well. You know how much does it cost for you to start a pest control business? Can you guess? Well, it costs about $20,000 to $30,000 again, which is nothing, which is something that is on your credit card. Anybody that applies for a credit card today, they get instantly 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand. That is if you have good credit, if you're a responsible individual. And mostly people who open up businesses are responsible individuals. And if you're not responsible, this video isn't for you. Let me give you a few takeaways I want you to go home with today. Flashy startups, they often burn money to buy attention. Boring businesses make money quietly, solving very old problems. Every billionaire portfolio includes boring cash flow businesses: trash collection, plumbing, land lease, energy, HVAC, pest control, and so on and so forth. You know what's the real flex? It's freedom, it's predictability, it's ownership, not just headlines. Everybody loves headlines, but you need those headlines for the right reasons. If you want to venture out of this video, please like and subscribe. I want to hear, what is that boring business you want to get into? I want to hear if you need any help. I'm open here to consult for you.